Everybody can be seated. I'm going to sit down. Be comfortable. I'm very, very happy to be here with you, even though my eyes are not happy sometimes. When I grew up in Bangor, and two things we did in Bangor, which was kind of fun, is we had a church basketball league. And St. John's was part of that, All Souls was part of that, Columbia Street Baptist. And I think there's one of the synagogues played. And Columbia Street Baptist, I don't know where they drew their people from, but they were the best. They were the hardest one to beat. They just won every game. It was disappointing, but we played and had a good time. And the other thing that was fun was we had progressive suppers. And I don't know if you've ever done a progressive suppers. I think it's kind of an old-fashioned thing. But you go to one person's house and have hors d'oeuvres at somebody's house from one of the churches. And you got to know, the mothers and the fathers, and you got to know, other people who were around doing that. It was really nice. And so I have very fond memories of people at St. John's at that time. I'm sitting because years ago I was sliding with my kids, two of my kids, little kids, and I hit an ice hole, went up in the air, and had a multiple compound fracture on my left leg. And I was out of it for probably 6 months. And so when I got back to church, I was at St. Aidan's in Machias. I would stand, of course, to do the gospel and to say the mass, and I would sit for the sermon, and I really liked it, and I've never gotten up since. I've often wondered if that it would be really easy to use the gospel today as an apologetic for some of the activities of, say, The Sopranos or The Godfather. We're going to get rid of people, and they get rid of people. And you got a son, they do bad things, and okay, you got to get rid of them. They get rid of them. And it's kind of what that they do in those movies or TV shows. But I think what that parable is all about. And it's really, you really run into trouble if you try to explain a parable. And so, I'm a pretty old guy, and I've tried to do that, and I failed when I was younger, because you can't do it. You can't explain a parable. You have to live the parable. You have to live through the parable. It's kind of like a Zen koan. You have to live it, and it doesn't work if you just think you know what they mean, because you're wrong. So the point of this parable, I think, is for us to wake up. I think it's a huge wake-up call. Talking about some pretty nasty stuff in this parable. Killing a lot of people, and the other ones come and think, this is going to be better, but no, it's not going to be better. It's going to be worse. They got to get rid of some more people. Got to get rid of some of the Pharisees and some of all those people. Got to get rid of them. So it's a wake-up call for us to realize that we really need to focus. And I think the focusing of the parables throughout the time, as people, the older people and the younger people got together, that there were ways of life that came out of this. And that's the point of Christian ethics, is that there are ways of life that come out of these parables. And so what I believe the best places to look are to find out, who are these people? Who are these men and women who really gave us ways of life and made perhaps life possible for us to be more interesting and more loving and more kind? I think of, say, for Saint Benedict. Saint Benedict, has his four-pronged way of living. Work, play, prayer, and study. How many of us can live that kind of life? It's really difficult to live that kind of life. But if we pick up part of that, we're going to be, we're going to feel better about ourselves. And hospitality comes out of a lot of that. When I was in divinity school years and years ago, I took a course from Henry Nouwen. Some of you may have heard of Henry Nouwen. He wrote lots of books. Henry liked to write books. He wrote lots of books, and he worked with the poor and died with the poor up in Canada. His book you might look for is The Wounded Healer. I think that's his best book, and I think it's really important to realize that healers are wounded people. Anyway, don't want to get into that, but what he did in this class was he said, you all have got to go and spend time in a monastery. If you're going to know what Thomas Merton's life was like, you got to go. So okay, we did. And so I was going down to Berryville, Virginia, from New Haven, and in a snowstorm, and I got there really late at the Cistercian monastery. I got really late, and there was a light on, and somebody greeted me and said, I know you're hungry, and gave me some food, and we sat down and we chatted about what was coming up in the next 10 days, and it was wonderful. And so I said to him, I thought you had a vow of silence. He said, well, we also have a vow of hospitality. And their big thing then was trying to balance all the work that they do. They were people, some of you may have been in D.C. when they were doing, monk's bread. And they actually made, really good bread, and they sold it in D.C. But they were having to spend too much time working. They had to call in people to help them because they worked too much time working. It was like, okay, we don't do this. We don't want to do this. We work, we're supposed to work 4 hours. Now we're working 5 hours. So there's a huge discussion. I was fortunate enough to be in on some of that. And it was, what they're trying to do, anyway, how do you make enough money to live? And they had 1,200 acres of grass, like fields. And they thought Angus cattle were the way to go. That's the way to go. So I think that's what they did. I don't know. I never followed up on them, but anyway, the point of this is when you get into a pattern, it's really easy to work 4 hours, pray 4 hours, study 4 hours, and play 4 hours. Get out there and run around, do stuff, take walks, take hikes. So for us, if we can take a little bit of that, I think it's really important to do that, to get the balance. And I've been not working for a couple of years, and it's interesting trying to find a balance. And I find it very difficult. I found out it was easier to balance when my kids were little, and we were doing a lot of hospitality things. I don't know why the Bishop Chalfont at the time, he always said, hey, call me up, hey, can you take somebody for a while? And I said, yeah, we can do it. There had to be a million people in the diocese who had better, situation than we did. We had to put them into what we call the library. It was basically the Lego room, and had to put them there, and then they had to sleep there. So these guys, a couple of guys from West Africa stayed with us for quite a while. Momo. And my kids loved them because we learned a lot about West Africa and about their lives and what they were doing. And then the most interesting guy came to us was from Guatemala, and Carlos was on his way to Canada because he couldn't stay in the United States, and he played with my kids like he played with kids in Guatemala. It was really neat. It was great. So he was with us about 2 months before the right person was at the crossing. Actually was one of those guys, and he was able to cross over and live in Canada. So hospitality is huge, and hospitality is something that allows us to open ourselves to a new person as the new person opens himself or herself to us. The Benedictine rule is the rule that works. It worked, in the 6th century, and it works today. The problem we have is we don't want to enter into a rule, and it's really difficult to do that. So as churches grow, like this church is growing, and it's really, really great to hear about y'all. As churches grow, what people have said, and Jim Nutter will tell you this, what people have said is that it's hospitality and music that bring people and keep people in church. If they feel that you're a hospitable group and you're willing to talk with them and maybe even take them home, that's remarkable. And music here, I mean, you've got a remarkable organist. I mean, this guy is great. He could be anywhere, and you got him, and that's wonderful. So the possibility here are that the growth of the church, if that's what you want to do, can be anywhere. What's that? So I applaud you and would ask you to look at the rule and see if there's any way that it might work for you. I couldn't hear that, but if people are smiling, it seems like that's good. Even Sigmund Freud took something from the Benedictine, and he had his three-legged milk stool, and he called it, work, play, and relationships, love. And if you don't have one of those, it's really hard to sit on. If you don't have two of those, it's equally hard to sit on. If you don't have three of those, it doesn't. So if we're satisfied with work, we're satisfied with our love relationship, and we're satisfied that we have enough time to play, we're going to be healthy human beings. That's from Freud. And Freud did that from the Benedictine rule. So it's there. It works. People believe it. My hope for you is that the parables wake us all up, and that we are able to enjoy ourselves in this time that God has given us to play and to be refreshed and to be nurtured by each other. Amen.